welcome to Centre Court. Thanks to Victoria Police, apply now. And TAC, ditch the distractions. I'm Bianca Chatfield and I'm joined by Ash Brazill again. And guess what? It's been 1 month full of netball and we're already over halfway. I think we're halfway through round 9 right at this moment. Ash, it's been huge. It's been so much netball in 1 month.
1 month. Like, hearing that just makes me feel a little bit sick because it feels like it's been going all year. Like, I can't believe it's only been 4 weeks. Like, what is that?
And we waited so long for the season to actually get underway. Let's take a little bit of a look at the ladder, how it stands right now. We saw the Vixens, they're sitting up on top, which makes me smile. When they had a big game against the Swifts and managed to come out of that with a 3-goal win. But the teams that really jump out at me are the ones here hovering around that 4th, 5th, 6th spot. And as it always is the case, we see here Lightning Fever, Giants, Thunderbirds, even Firebirds. Anyone really could end up in that top 4. It's always a battle for 4th.
Yeah, and I've been in teams, or I guess Collingwood, the last 3 years, we've been in that 4th, 5th, 6th position. And when it's just that 1 point to get into the top 4, as that player, anxiety is through the roof. You are watching every single game with you don't want anyone to win. You want everyone to lose, everyone to have a draw, and I just don't like it. But being a spectator, it's quite fun to watch.
It is quite fun to watch. Let's get to the agenda. When you're on your phone, you are driving blind. Ditch the distractions. I want to talk about the Giants because the Giants are one of those teams that are fighting it out for that top 4 position, but they're one of those teams that have been pretty mediocre, and I'm sure they won't mind me saying this, they've been pretty mediocre for 40 minutes.
Are you sure they won't mind you saying that?
Well, I don't know. Some of them I hope would agree with me. For 40 minutes of a game, pretty average. But they find a way to step up in that last 5 minutes, coincidentally, when the super shot can be played. They've got players like Kira Austin and Joe Harton who are absolutely loving the super shot zone. Just take a look at this. So if you look at the 3rd column on the right, that is just how much extra they are gaining because of the super shots. And if they weren't going to take them, their losses would be significant. And we saw them play the Vixens last night. They lost by 20 goals in the end, but the super shot is really keeping them in the game and allowing them to be more competitive. And I thought it was really interesting to hear Lizzie Watson say at half-time, I hate the super shot because it was just helping the Giants catch up to, in the first quarter, I think the Giants, they outscored the Vixens 17-15 in those last 5 minutes.
Yeah, and 5 super shots you wouldn't think is a lot, but when it's 10 points, like, it's bringing them back into it. And, before we talked about us being fans of the super shot, and I still am, because only this round last round has there been a blowout, and it hasn't been interesting watching it. Like, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's now 20, I'm not really interested. But when it's still 5 points and it's, that's only 2 shots and we're now 1 in it, it's still exciting. But yeah, I guess you're right when it comes to the Giants. Would they be sitting 5th if the super shot was there?
Absolutely not. But I'm like you, I am loving that they're using it to their advantage. Vixens hardly use it. They're still sitting on top of the ladder. They're obviously taking advantage of just shooting 1 goal as much as they can and just playing their normal game. But I think Jo Harton, didn't she say at halftime on the weekend how that she's actually loving it now? She's admitting to it that they're using it to their advantage. They are one team that actually are trying to take that super shot as much as possible.
Yeah, and I'm glad she finally admitted it because we all know deep down Jo has always loved it. But finally great that we've got it now on a recording. So thank you, Jo, for finally clearing that up for us.
Another thing that I wanted to talk about was some of your teammates, Ash, and that is the Browne sisters. And it's great to see them back playing in season 2020. Both had ACL reconstructions in the off-season, but we've seen Kelsey Browne now put her hand up and say that she needs to be rested for the rest of the season. We've seen Maddie Browne in and out of games needing to be managed with her knee injury. What do you know from the inside what's happening?
Well, lucky for Kelsey, I think when the last game we played, we actually thought Kelsey did her ACL. So after the game, the next 24 hours, it was pretty doom and gloom around the Collingwood camp, just thinking, great, like, not good. She's done her ACL for the 2nd time, and what's that going to mean for 2021? And just the question mark on that. So to hear that she just strained it, she got away with, I didn't even know you could strain an ACL. So pulling it as far as she could before actually snapping the ACL. So happy for Kelsey. And with Mads, we're just managing her at the moment. think anyone coming back from an ACL, if it was a regular season, you have that week off in between, and you know, a lot of people wouldn't know, but a lot of the athletes wouldn't even be training during the week just to get up for the next game. So the fact that we're playing 2 games each week, I think we're just playing smart with Maddie.
And we spoke about all the games that are happening, and you know, there's been so much condensed into 1 month. I'm thinking that the mid-quarters are probably under more pressure and more stress just with the position they play and the amount of running in a game. Do you think it's time teams started resting players in the lead up to the finals or some of the more important games, or do you think it's just important to get the rolling subs right?
I think it's really important to get rolling subs right at the moment. I think if you were going to rest players, it should have happened already, because now you want to get your team right. You want to know how you're going to play these finals. You can't just, I guess, change your game plan like heading into a final. But I guess a team that could be doing it, Giants yesterday not playing Amy Parmenter for the first couple of quarters. I was in a bit of shock. I thought April Brownlee came on really strong and played an amazing game. But someone like Amy Parmenter, I think she's an up-and-coming, probably the strongest wing defence that we can see at the moment. So to have her on the bench, I was a bit shocked about that. But, was Julie just resting her coming up for finals? What do you think about it? Yeah,
I think it's just important that you do rest some of the players. And sometimes, and I know this is hard to get your head around when you're a coach, but even the fact when you're a player, right, you're warming up for a game, you're just sitting on the bench, but you've gone through all the warm-up, you're preparing, you're taping and strapping your body, getting yourself ready. That is hard enough. Like, I know the game time, taking that off is going to be helpful, but I think sometimes just sitting one of your most important players, if you have the opportunity to sit them off for a whole game so they don't even have to warm up and get out there, that could be just as beneficial. But, I mean, it would be really hard to pick the right moment and the right time to actually do that.
Yeah, and I guess you're looking at, like, your ladder again. If you're a Vixens, you can afford to do that now. You're sitting on the top, you're a few games off, you know that you're going to be in the 4 for a while now, even if you lose a couple. But it's, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th position. Can you afford to do that?
Whew. Another team, another one of your old teams, actually. There's a few, Braz.
There's not, is it?
Fever are sitting 4th on the ladder. They had an unbelievable game against Lightning on the weekend. Now, I don't want to necessarily recap the game because Fever just found their form, and we know that they've got the talent, but were you very impressed by what you saw from them?
Yeah, I would even go to saying that's probably the closest to the perfect game I've ever seen. Like, they just were on fire from goal shooter all the way down to goalkeeper. Everyone had a brilliant game, and if they can play like that, I think good luck to any other team coming up against them, because they just couldn't stop them. And Lightning is a team that could have done it, and they just couldn't that night.
Great to see Courtney Bruce back as well from her injury. She is in great form, and also I'm loving seeing Verity Charles and Alice Teague-Neal really own their positions down in the attack and adding so much to, what do we call them, the West Coast Fowler?
I think last night they were West Coast Fever. There was no, Fowler was great, but the whole team were just brilliant.
That was the agenda. Ditch the distractions. Now we talk about Fever. There's one person that we need to talk about now. It's time for the nitty gritty. Thanks to Lexus of Berwick, who are here for you. Contact the team and visit lexusofberwick.com.au. Let's talk about the brand new 15th Australian Diamonds coach, and it is Stacey Marinkovic. And now, Stacey, let me just read out a couple of what she has done. So she's had 10 years of coaching experience at the elite level. She's been a specialist coach for the Australian development team. She's been the head coach of Fast Five. Obviously, she's been the coach of West Coast Fever for a number of years. And she's also was the 2018 Joyce Browne Coach of the Year. We know that Stacey was in amongst a lot of former Australian Diamonds who went for the coaching job, like Simone McInnes. We've heard a lot of commentary around it. But one thing that stands out for me, Braz, is the fact that you've actually been coached by Stacey. I have never been coached by Stacey. I used to play with her back in the Aussie Under-21 days, but you know what she's like as a coach. So what do you think of the appointment?
Yeah, when I first heard that Stacey got appointed the head coach of the Diamonds, I was actually shocked, and not because Stacey got the coaching role. I'm so glad Stacey got the coaching role. It was more that it's the first time I realised that we are in such a bubble in Victoria, and it feels like nothing else happens outside of Netball Victoria. And I guess for me, the only name I heard was Simone McInnes. And you look at the poll that we put up on Twitter, even the public thought that Simone was going to get it. And that's it. For me, that's the only name I heard. I did hear Julie Fitzgerald's name get thrown up there a little bit. But I actually think Stacey's a great appointment to this role, and I wrote down 3 reasons why I think she would be good. For me, I actually think she's a people person, and what I mean by that is when you're coaching the Diamonds, and both of us know it's the team culture's already there because of our past players. But when you're in it, you're only in it for 2 weeks minimum to 4 weeks. And so to try and build a culture and a good group in that 4 weeks, it is tough.
Yes.
And one thing I think Stacey does really well is she gets brilliant players and she turns them into a brilliant team. And just, I think, for me, that's massive for her. She does her homework more than any other coach I've had. I've never seen someone do video analysis as much as she does. And I think the Australian Diamonds players are in good hands with that. They're going to know their opponents inside and out. It's going to be unbelievable. And she knows her strengths. I think one thing that I think is great for all coaches is when they know their strengths and they're not afraid to say they don't know things. Stacey brings in other specialist coaches to help out whenever needed, and I think for me that's probably the most exciting thing about her.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take. And, I was shocked as well. I mean, I know what Simone McInnes is like. I have had her as a coach. I think she would have been great in that position. But take a look at some of, what was said, I guess, once the appointment was named. Shani Layton put out a tweet. She basically is saying that she thinks Simone was the best person for the job. We also saw it in interviews with Stacey across the weekend, people throwing questions at her that were like, you haven't played for the Diamonds. How are you going to be able to coach the Diamonds? Also throwing in that she hasn't had much success at the elite level with West Coast Fever. So how will she know how to have success with the Diamonds? So for me, I just want to, yes, we might be shocked with the decision. I just want Australia, whether you're a past player, a current player, a fan of the game, another coach, whatever, I just want us all to actually back her in now. The decision's been made. There was a process that was followed. None of us have any insight into any of that. But it's also not our role, I don't think. So I think that we all need to get behind Stacey now, let her go and coach the team, see what happens. And yes, if she fails, then sure, there should be uproar. But let's just give her a go. We're all Australian. We all want the Diamonds to do well. So now we all have to get behind her and support her.
100%. Back her in. I think she's the right person for the job. And I think just when the Diamonds got told, everyone was excited. It didn't matter who it was, but Stacey's a person that I think these girls will play for.
Yeah, and just because you've played netball for the Diamonds, I don't think players make the best coaches in some instances. In other instances they
make
do,
commentators,
but not always.
Do they?
That was the Nitty Gritty. Thanks to Alexis of Berwick, who are here for you. It's now time to get on to Brazilliant, Ash, my favourite segment, just because you take over.
Thank you, drum roll, please. So the Brazilliant this week goes to a family, and it is for good human behaviour and just really good all-round supporter, just being awesome people, really. And this goes to a West Coast Fever family. You can see in these photos right there, that is a merchandise stand in a backyard.
What?
So this family here is the West Coast Fever video analysis Gary, his family.
That's hard to say, isn't it?
Sorry, blah, blah, blah. His family back in WA are just showing all the support for Fever. The kids made tickets, they made a merchandise table, and they even made a scoreboard in the background of their living room. So the way that they are just cheering their team on, and that was the game where they just blew it out of the water. So I think they were definitely the lucky charm. If they can do that every week, I think Fever are going to be in a really good position. But just to see the support, I guess, at home when you're away and you're stuck in a hub, and especially for the West Australian team when you know your state has 0 cases and they still have to be in a hub, I think that would be really hard. And to leave your family over there, I think good on them, and I hope they're doing well without Dad there.
Let's also make sure that you share any of your social media with us. So if you're doing something cool at home, you think maybe you could be eligible for a Brazilian award one week, tag us, send it in to us, let us know, because that's what we want to celebrate, all the good things that are happening around the game. It's time now to get to the final say. Victoria Police are recruiting now. Search police careers and apply to be a force for good. Okay, Ash, back to you. Taken over. I think you should host this next week.
Kind of need to have a breather. So mine goes to Molly Jovich from my Collingwood netball team. So the big thing for us is we have lost the Browns, and well, who knows, Maddie could be back this week. But I just think Molly is so exciting and someone that we could really step up. unfortunately, we're at the bottom of the ladder, but I think it's time that Molly shines because she's just playing an incredible netball at the moment. But I think she was feeling like she was still that new kid. She's no longer the new kid. She has cemented her spot. She is our centre. We need her on the court, and I just think, mate, own that bib. I've talked you up. This is all you. Just have fun, enjoy it because you're a superstar.
And there's no time like this year, really, to go out there and just dominate and try new things and see how you can fit into that lineup. For me, I want to talk about West Coast Fever. We've given them a lot of airtime in this episode, but I think they've found their feet now. They have found their form. They know what they're doing. I actually think they almost are playing to back in Stacey Marinkovic as well as the new Diamonds coach. She gets to stay there into 2021, so she's got a whole nother season with the Fever, but I am loving what I'm seeing from them, and I think they are going to do damage from here. So currently they're sitting 4th on the ladder, but that could chop and change, but I think they are going to cement themselves in that top 4 and they are going to do damage in the final series. No pressure, Fever either.
Yeah, and it is interesting with the Fever because, like, when they play good, they're just amazing, aren't they? Like, you can't stop them. So can they be consistent? Because we haven't really seen that from Fever. But, yeah, final CB. Let's a couple of weeks. Let's bring that back up again.
We can replay that and see how I went. That was the final say. Thanks to Victoria Police. Apply now. Well, that was another episode of Centre Court. All thanks to TAC. When you're on your phone, you are driving blind. Ditch the distractions. And, of course, Victoria Police, who are doing a great job around Victoria right now. They are also recruiting. So search police careers and apply now to be a force for good. Thanks so much, Ash.
Thanks for having me again, B. Can't get rid of me.
Enjoy the Netty, and we'll be back again next week.